While Greg and I were watching Batum, we were thinking of other shows that we could watch for the next weekend. Fooly Cooly came up during the conversation, and due to its short runtime of 2.5 hours, we decided to watch it the next day, which would be Monday, May 18th. He had heard great things about the show and knew of its status as one of the cult classics of the anime community. I had experienced it back in 2013 when it aired on Adult Swim's Tsunami Block, but this wasn't the first time it aired on TV. It originally aired in 2003, but it had its first rerun when I was old enough to watch it. When I saw it for the first time, I thought it was pretty funny, but I never considered it among my top 10 favorites. Whereas Greg had only seen a single episode and stopped watching. Pair my nostalgia with our foggy memory and we were in for something wild. Fooly Cooly stars Naota Nandaba, who is 12 years old. One day he meets Haruhara Haruko, an alien lady on a motorcycle wielding a guitar, when she hits him in the head with it after running him over on a bridge. From there he goes through a lot of zany antics as he deals with a bump on his head that spawns creatures and even a robot who fights them as a result of what Haruko did. The series is episodic in nature and is apparently a coming-of-age story according to the anime community. Unfortunate for Greg and I, the show came off as random and hard to follow from start to finish. The first episode was the equivalent of a flurry of punches, with its high-octane pacing, flooding of visual noise, and bizarre situations that happened almost every 5 seconds, if not in the following scene. I vividly remember Greg asking, "What even is this show?" as we watched it, and it was only the first episode of all things. This issue was exemplified by a scene where Naota's father goes into a long-winded series of tangents, giving multiple meanings of Fooly Cooly as a term. It is backed by a total art style shift from being animated to a series of what I'd imagine are manga panels scanned in, blew up, and animated on top of. This is the first of many scenes where this happens, specifically one of 2 scenes that take on a manga style in this instance.
What's Fooly Cooly?
How should I know? I'm still in grade school. You think I'm that crazy?
Ha ha! Ha ha ha! That's what it is. Naota's Gundam Hammer.
Huh?
It's that Tomino-esque thing, saying it's Gundam, but basically it's giant robot anime, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Nao's just like me, so he must be doing it. I know he's doing it. Doing it, Fooly Cooly.
I see. Pretty impressive, little bro.
So what do you think, Haruko-san?
What are ya?
Oh, Cooly Cooly, like that?
Kool-Aid?
Not like curry powder aphrodisiac leaked off my desk.
Death.
It's this kind of Cooly Cooly new modality.
Noodle?
I mean like MTV!
Empty?
Oh, former assistant editor-in-chief. I didn't know you had such a lovely young wife. Ooh, Cooly Cooly! Yeah, it's kind of a Cooly Cooly dream thing!
Yeah, Fooly Cooly is you do it like this with your hands, see?
All right. I'm already in that kind of relationship with Takun here.
Relationship? How do you mean?
Mouth to mouth.
Mao?
Click, click, click.
I told you to shut up about that.
So, living in the same house, you two are already Fooly Cooly, I see.
Who cares if it's Fooly or Cooly?
But you're still thinking about doing it tonight, aren't you?
Stop acting like a kid.
With that kind of perverted Cooly Cooly kind of dream, you must be hiding it underneath this Band-Aid, aren't you?
I'm not hiding anything.
Band-Aid.
The series feels like a collection of random moments building up to a climax. This unorthodox episode structure doesn't work in its favor, personally speaking, as it makes the already blurred line that is the story harder to see through all of it. Throughout the 6-episode series, there are tidbits of information given out about the characters, but they can easily go unnoticed or thought of as throwaway lines within a joke, as there's hardly a single calm or serious moment for viewers to absorb this stuff other than the moments where Naota is alone, thinking about something or pondering about what hang-up he had that particular day. I can believe that there is a deeper story within the show, which has been shown through analysis by people, but I can't see it on my second viewing, which serves to be a problem. This stems primarily from the mixed signals and messages that are being fired off from it constantly, as it is hard to know how you're supposed to feel. I will note that the second episode is where a series calms down, but ever so slightly that you can grasp what happens with smoother transitions from every scene to the next as opposed to the sporadic nature of the previous one. The episodic format really comes to bite them, as the ending literally dawns on you where it does a 180 out of nowhere, presenting a plotline that seemingly ran throughout the show in the background with no prior build-up or anticipation. The last episode is by far the most jarring one due to how every episode prior ended by returning to a status quo of sorts. When I tell you it felt like there was no ending in sight, I mean, you would have thought that the series had a ton of episodes left. If any other show did this, it'd be absolutely lambasted by the community. The story isn't weakened by the things I've mentioned exclusively, as it goes deeper than that. The translation is praised for being extremely accurate, including the dubbing of it in English. While this is fine for someone who is all for accuracy over communicating the meaning through different words and localization, it hinders the viewer's ability to take in things, as well as some characters, especially Haruko, using untranslated terms and words such as ara, instead of using an English term to substitute them. The use of Japanese honorifics like kun and san aren't the issue, but the seeming lack of care on the translator's part for adapting the series for American audiences is strange, as that is their job. Sure, everything is translated into English for the most part and you can gauge the context, but some sentences can really feel unnatural and like they weren't proofread. The icing on the cake is the fact that funny moments and jokes aren't translated in a way that comes off as funny, even when matched with the over-the-top visuals and voice acting. I didn't laugh once, and even when I did, it wasn't due to the show, it was due to the analogies that Greg was making. I'm not blaming any of the voice actors for this, as they simply did their job and made do with what they were given, as well as putting in great performances, especially with Haruko's voice actress, who was extremely close to the Japanese version's actress in her delivery of lines. I can't speak for any of the other actors, but if their goal was to stick to the Japanese version, they did a good job at the expense of what could have been done with their talents. Overall, the translation is inconsistent and the weakest link to say the least. The animation is one of the biggest if not only reasons that people told around and recommend this show. The show was animated by Studio Gainax, the studio that made Neon Genesis Evangelion, and fresh off the heels of that, of course they brought their trademark animation quality to the table for something as spastic and crazy as this. Basic movements are very fluid, fights are massively animated and composed on top of characters being more expressive than most anime of that time. The people who worked on this were masters of their craft with an excessive amount of money. With the amount of money that they had, it was a no-brainer to make another series after their cash cow just ended. Despite how visually noisy it is, the shot compositions are great. The show shifts art styles from time to time, and even those parts are amazing. I mean, at one point Greg said the show was a cartoon and not an anime because of how over the top and slapstick things were at times. The animation is without a doubt the best aspect of the series. The music used in the series is done by a band called The Pillows, and their tracks get used sparingly, as I believe that they're licensed. The songs that are used in the show do well at making you feel good and fit those calmer moments in fights. Essentially, having their music as a soundtrack nails the feel of the show as a whole. Unlike most anime, this soundtrack is a collection of standalone songs that can be listened to outside of the show and still invoke the same feeling. This is another defining factor of the series that sets it apart from the rest of the anime community. Fooly Cooly feels strange when looking at it with both nostalgia and hindsight, as in 2018, 2 new seasons were made and aired on Toonami, which was followed by what I can describe as a tidal wave of disappointment, as everything I liked about the series was gone except for the music. It seemed like 2 months of despair for the people who wished for it, as they got their wish, but it wasn't what they expected. I came into the show expecting myself to enjoy it the same if not more than before, but instead, it was worse than I remembered it being. While the production quality and music are through the roof, Fooly Cooly has nothing going for it when you strip those things from it, and I think the anime community witnessed that firsthand. Its innovations can be taken into account and noticed, but I don't think that immediately means it is devoid of issues or criticism. Despite how flawed its translation may be, the series was somewhat enjoyable due to the company that I had, and the spectacle that is seeing it in motion. I wouldn't recommend this series to anyone unless they want a history lesson or need a quick break from something that they're doing. It's a good piece of eye candy, and you'll get a better kick out of watching the countless analysis videos tearing apart and decoding the mystery of what's going on in the story. In terms of accessibility, the show is available on DVD, Blu-ray, YouTube, and Funimation. If I were to put it on a scale, I'd give it a 5. As for Greg, he gave it a 7, as he enjoyed it more than I did. If you like this video, give it a like. If you like it even more, share it around, and I have a Discord server that you can join. Also, I have a Twitter that you can follow. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.